Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, folks of all stripes, and distinguished guests, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston sports podcast for diehard Houston sports fans. From a diehard Houston sports fan, I'm your host, Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite Astros fan podcaster. Feel free to add as many qualifiers to that statement to make it true. And I'm an actor, improviser, writer, creative multi-hyphenate. But most importantly, I'm a proud Houston native, and I have the receipts to prove it. I remember the Barnes and Nobles on Westheimer and Voss. Like that's how old I am. I've spent the last decade or so as a comedy writer here in Los Angeles, and now, I'm podcasting. That's what happens when you hit 10 years out here. You start absent-mindedly calling it The 10 instead of I-10, and you start podcasting. Welcome to said podcast. Space Cadet Sports started as a passion project because most media is infuriating as a diehard long-term fan of the Houston Astros. Here we aren't doom and gloom casual fans, or worse, the national media haters and avoiders. We love our teams and root them on, but also try to discuss the ins and outs of them without too much homerism. Of course, the key word here is try. On today's episode, the Texans are giving us hope. The Rockets struggle against the Nugs in cup play, and the Astros are breaking fans' hearts. Folks, I'd like to welcome returning listeners and welcome new listeners to what my brothers call the Paul Broad Pod Ball Blog. Hey, brothers. Shout out to my brothers. Shout out to Arrested Development fans. And shout out to the subscribers on the Substack. That's right, check out spacecadetsports.substack.com for the full blog experience, or the full blog experience, depending on your interpretation of my mumbles here. And, of course, shout out to the Milford men out there. We're recording this transmission here in sunny Los Angeles, where I'm joined by my co-host and co-producer, The Roz, to my Frasier. Carla, the dog, is here with me, as always. Longtime listeners of the podcast know that she may get on mic from time to time. She's got the hot takes on this podcast. on this podcast. Oh, my goodness. I was on a roll. I thought my vocal warm-ups worked for once, and now I'm spiraling. Folks, in a world of ridiculous sports podcasters, emotional reactions, hot takes, and dudes yelling their opinion as if it's fact, at least I'm honest with you. I'm ridiculous. I try to take the long view on the podcast. This podcast, while I say I'm not a casual, this podcast is for casual fans, if you will. Welcome if you're a casual. Welcome if you're a diehard. Either way, I watch all of the games. I stress over them. I have all of the emotions. I listen to all the podcasts. Not all of them. I listen to most of them. I read all the blogs, and I synthesize that and try to have some kind of humor and bring that news to you. I mean, why torture ourselves by letting these sports bros rile up our emotions? We try to be reasonable on this podcast, folks, to an extent. I'm still a trash-talking clown, and I get in my emotions just like anybody else. But I just want to admit off the top, I'm an entertainer. I'm a diehard fan. I'm a clown. I'm not going to pretend to be anything bigger than I am, but I hope you come here to get your Houston sports news and to try to enjoy life a little bit more with us, even when our sports teams make that a little difficult. Oh, my goodness. Ugh, Carla. I almost got through it without a mess up. One of these days. Let's get to it, folks. Good day, mates. The Texans beat the Bills, and oh my gosh, I was so excited. Full disclosure, this game I actually had to watch a little bit on delay. I was I was at the theater, my dear boy. That's how much of an artiste I am. I had to watch the Texans game from the theater. And yes, that's pronounced with the R-E instead of the E-R ending, folks. No, I was very happy for a primetime game as a Houston Texans fan out here in Los Angeles, but life found a way. No, I'm very happy to say, I'm not, even for comedy's sake, I'm not going to Rodney Dangerfield this. It's like, oh, my wife. Actually, I'm very proud of Sarah. We braved the rain out here in Los Angeles, which was actually terrible, having an atmospheric river out here. It felt like driving in Houston. We braved the rain to go see a theater that she built. Yeah. She built this theater on rock and roll. No, she's an architect. So for those of you who have been in construction or engineering or architecture, you know how long it takes to erect a building. She's seen this project from day one till opening, and she was kind of the head design architect on this theater. And in a lot of ways, she just, this was a big project for her and her career. So we went to the opening night of this theater, and it was amazing. It was so beautiful. I was so proud of her. I definitely checked the score a couple of times. Look, I am human. Of course, I checked the score a couple of times. But then when we got home, after watching the musical, and after being insanely proud of her, I was able to watch the Texans game on replay and had a blast watching that. So, of course, Sarah, we know you listen to the podcast, but you don't take my advice to heart whenever I'm picking picks. But since you listen, I just want to say I love you. I'm so proud of you. Definitely so happy to watch this game on replay for multiple reasons. But the Texans won this game 23-19 against the Bills. They sacked Josh Allen 8 times. Josh Allen was running for his life, folks. The defense, this team's defense is absolutely incredible. The Houston Texans are now 6-5. For those of you who follow Paul's picks, when I'm picking the winners, you might have noticed that I picked the Bills to win. I was saying this team needs to show me more, and they did. I mean, look, I'm not saying that this team is going straight to the playoffs. Book your tickets now. But this team has a lot of fight in them still. This team is not just giving up. And I have a feeling that this offense can get a lot better with C.J. Stroud. To those of you who are thinking that Davis Mills might be a permanent fix, I think, I'm not to be disrespectful to Money Mills, to General Mills, to next man up. But C.J. Stroud is able to take your offense to another level. Davis Mills would be a game manager. C.J. Stroud has more athleticism and can probably help this offense a whole lot more. That's just that's just logic. I say probably with a little bit of sarcasm there, folks. I am very appreciative of Davis Mills. Don't speak ill of your dance partner. Like, Davis really helped the Texans steady the ship. But I really think this offense will improve like tenfold with C.J. Stroud if they can figure out a way to keep blocking. The offensive line play is becoming more consistent. The running game is becoming a little more consistent, folks. So let's look at the stats in this game real quick before we move on. But in this game, Davis Mills was 16 of 30 with 153 yards and 2 touchdowns with a 90 quarterback rating. He had a good game manager game. He was able to do some damage in the first half. Throwing for 2 touchdowns obviously was great to see. You were worried about the Houston Texans, or at least I was worried about the Houston Texans scoring touchdowns in this game. It was the only way to win. I thought they needed to control time of possession. My keys to the game were scoring touchdowns, time of possession, limiting Josh Allen's attempts to destroy your team by just keeping your offense on the field. The running game did well in this. Woody Marks rushed for 74 yards and 16 attempts with a 4.6 average. Nick Chubb got in the mix for 6 rushing attempts for 16 yards. And famously, what am I trying to say? Newsworthy. I announced Carlo did not like the way I said newsworthy. Dameon Pierce was was waived off the team. He's no longer with the Texans. So those were your two runners in this game. Christian Kirk had a team-high reception mark of 5. He was 5 of 54. Nico Collins had 3 receptions for 55 yards. Christian Kirk got a touchdown as well. And getting on the board was Jalen Higgins, who got 4 receptions for 38 yards and a touchdown. Dalton Schultz, 1 reception for 8 yards. We're used to see a little more Dalton Schultz in the mix there. The pass defense for the Bills, we were hoping we could attack them a little bit more. They did spread the ball around a little bit, but it's not time. I'm not going to sit here and comb through the stats and be like, see, this is exactly why I'm frustrated. This isn't like the Tennessee win. This feels a lot better than the Tennessee win because Buffalo is a more consistent team. I will say that I was worried, even though I was worried when I was watching the scores on my phone. I was worried when I was getting text messages coming in. Look, folks, everybody in my life knows I'm a big Houston fan. Everybody texts me during Houston games. I was getting a lot of texts from my friend group. My stepdad and mom were tailgating with the Bills Mafia. The Bills Mafia travels well. My mom went to her first tailgate, believe it or not. She was very excited about that, and they won. So I got a lot of exciting updates from them throughout the game, and I was nervous multiple times that this game was just not in our favor by the way that the game was progressing. Kaimi Fairbairn was back. He was 3 for 3 from field goals, and folks, it was sack city. Danielle Hunter got 2 sacks. Barnett got a sack. Tim Settle Jr. got a sack. Half a sack for Mario Edwards Jr. Will Anderson got 2.5 sacks. Henry To'oTo'o had 1 sack. Folks, it was sack city. It was good. It was so fun to see that defense go out there. I mean, for all the questions we have on offense, for all the worries we have, we're hoping C.J. Stroud comes back. He steps into an improved offensive line, steps into an offensive. So his playmakers know better what they're doing in these plays, and hopefully this offense just really starts to shine. We're hoping. The total yards in this game, Houston Texans had 261 compared to Buffalo's 362. But the Texans did what they had to do to get the W in this game. Time of possession, I said that was key. The Texans lost the time of possession but still won the game. They were able to limit Josh Allen with their defense and just being able to find a way to outlast them and to just score enough to win the game. I mean, gritty win, tough win from the Texans. I was worried about them, obviously, but I was so happy to see them get this W. We, as Texans fans, if this season was going to give us any hope, we need some wins, and getting wins against good teams proves that the team can fight, if nothing else. And we're excited to see it. And folks, with that being said, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back to talk some Rockets, to talk some Astros. We'll be right back.
H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. I'm your irreverent host, Paul Salazar Jr. Welcome to the B-Block, B-Boys and Girls. We're talking about your Houston Rockets right now. While the Houston Texans showed fighting spirit, the Rockets also showed some fighting spirit in their cup game against the Denver Nuggets. Unfortunately, though, it just was not enough. It was a tough game for your Rockets against the Nugs, and Carla agrees. The Rockets are now 10-4 with that loss against the Nuggets. They lost 112-109 in that game. And it was a tough one. I mean, but look, I will say they fought to the very end, and they made it a lot closer than it felt like towards the end of that fourth quarter. It really felt like Jamal Murray and Jokic just really got the better of them and put the game away. But the Rockets fought back, kept fighting. There was a huge Jabari Smith Jr. Three-pointer, corner three, to kind of, get the Rockets kind of back in there late. I love to see that fighting spirit. It just wasn't their game, and it was tough to see at moments. There were moments where it felt like Alperen Sengun was trying to put the team on his back, and the offense just was not coming easy for him. There are moments where the offense was just really not coming easy for Kevin Durant. He just didn't look like himself, especially late in the game when we were looking for some Durant easy money buckets. They just weren't there. Sengun was getting frustrated. It looked like Jokic was just bullying the Alperen Sengun. It was tough. You wanted to see a little bit more of those, a little more shots falling from our studs. Honestly, is what we wanted to see. However, it was a tough one offensively when it comes down to efficiency. But in this game, it was kind of a Reed Sheppard coming out party. Reed Sheppard got 27 points. He was 9 of 13 from the field, 5 of 8 from three-point, and 4 of 6 from his free throws. Watching Reed out there, really making a case for him being in the starting lineup. Let me know what you think, folks. There are a lot of people clamoring for Reed Sheppard to be now. They went from hating the dude to now demanding him being in the starting lineup. I can't keep track of you guys and your emotions out there. But let me know what you think, folks. Are you ready for Reed to be in the starting lineup? He has an opportunity as early as tonight, with Kevin Durant sadly being out for personal reasons. We don't know exactly what's going on with KD, potentially, with a personal or family issue, but we're thinking of him and hoping everything is fine. Maybe it was something he was dealing with for a bit here. I don't know. Don't want to speculate. I'm just saying, going through personal things is tough no matter what your job is. So we're thinking of KD, hoping he gets better, hoping he's able to join the team under better circumstances soon. But that opens up a spot for Reed Sheppard to be in that starting lineup against the Phoenix Suns tonight. We'll see. I think we could be in for a Reed Sheppard game and just letting him get to 30 points, get in those 30s maybe, folks. We'll see. I don't know. In this game against the Nuggets, though, it was tough shooting. The Rockets ended the night with 44% shooting, but it felt like it felt like it was lower than that, to be honest. It was a tough game. They also had 14 turnovers in this game. I think really, we were hoping the Rockets were going to be able to make a better showing without the Nuggets having Aaron Gordon. But the Nuggets just went out there and fought hard. They played a great game, and they showed why they're considered one of the best teams in the West, why Jokic is considered perennial MVP vote getter. And the Rockets are just going to have to start figuring out ways to rise to that level and compete at that level. I think it was an instructive loss, if nothing else. I think it's a loss that will make Alfie hungry. I don't think Alperen Sengun really likes the baby Jokic moniker. I don't think anybody would. I mean, if you started calling me baby Jim Rome, I would not like it. If you called me any baby Stephen A. Smith, whatever name, whether you meant it to poke fun at me or because you think it's a compliment, either way, I don't think I would take kindly to it. I don't think anybody would take kindly to a nickname that starts with baby, unless you were a baby, in which case you just want to be referred to affectionately. That's okay. Hey, you know what? If you want a nickname that starts with baby, who am I to say otherwise? Okay, that's fine with me. In fact, write in if you would like your nickname to be baby. I'll give you a shout out on the podcast sometime. It's okay if you just want to be held. All right? But folks, the Rockets are up against the Phoenix Suns tonight. That's happening very soon here, and we're hoping that they can get another win here, and start another winning streak. After that, on Wednesday, they're playing the Golden State Warriors, and potentially without KD as well. So we'll see how Reed Shepherd does tonight, but this could be a couple of games of Reed Shepherd this week for Thanksgiving. Getting what you wanted, white meat. No, I think it's good. The time and the opportunity is good for Reed Shepherd in his career. A lot of people are clamoring for Reed to be in that starting spot. For me personally, I see it. I get it. I'm a little, I think there are times he's still a little lost on defense. But as you can see, when you do the big lineup, like they did against the Nuggets, Steven Adams out there. Sometimes the defense just doesn't respect the non-shooters. They are able to make things a little bit more difficult for offensive creation when you have the big lineup. So maybe the way to do that is just show everybody that we could do the small lineup too. And running that out there when that's in our best interest. And I think Reed's been flashy. I think he's been showing that his improvement. And hopefully he can just show his commitment to defense. I mean, he's never going to be, Amen Thompson on defense. He's not going to be that guy. But, smaller guards, can play with tenacity. They can play like Chris Paul or Steph Curry, So we're just going to see how Reed fits into this defense and if he can keep himself on the floor during tough moments because his offense far outweighs any liability he has on defense, or if he can just play through those defensive limitations and know his role in the defense. I think there's a possibility for that, but I'm not quite ready for him to be in every night starter. And that's not because I don't trust his talent. That's because I kind of like the flexibility of having a big lineup with Amen Thompson every now and then playing the point, or, having just a long lineup or whatever it is. I kind of like the idea of that flexibility and having no set lineup being the set lineup all the time. But that's just me. Maybe you feel differently. Maybe you are ready for a set lineup. Maybe you all want the Josh Okogie, or maybe you want the Steven Adams lineup, or maybe you want the Reed lineup. Let me know what you want. But for me, I like the flexibility. I like the idea of keeping it flexible out there. But let me know what you think. I've been doing my yoga, obviously, out here in Los Angeles. I've gone granola, folks. Now, before we wrap up the podcast, let's check in with the Astros fans. This is an Astros podcast, first and foremost. It has been a tough season for Astros fans. It's been tough for me. I know. It's been tough for Carla. This is the first time in Carla's life that there was no playoff baseball for her to watch. She seriously looked confused, folks. I think she was like, this is not how it normally goes. And I don't like that we don't have more opportunities for treats and for excitement. She definitely missed playoff baseball. I know I did. So let's check in with the Astros fans. Are we still in our feelings over Dubón? It's okay. It's okay. I'm not saying, hey, look, calm down. Cálmate. Hit you with my famous cálmate. I'm not saying you should be over. I'm just saying, how are you feeling? I'm checking in. This is what we should do as men. Check in with each other about your feelings. Check. And not just men. The women and the children, too. Everybody out there, how are you doing? Dubón was a fan favorite, and seeing him traded away to the Atlanta Braves still has me in my feelings. I'm not going to lie. He just was such a fun guy, such a big personality. He really made himself loved by the fan base. And it was funny to see that it wasn't just me. It was so many of y'all that were absolutely devastated when he was announced to be traded. And I'm just saying, how are you doing? How are you doing? Are you still upset? What stage of grief are you in right now over Mauricio Dubón? I think I'm at acceptance right now. I have to admit. I try to get to logical as quickly as I can, not at the expense of my emotions, though, folks. I do feel those emotions. Don't just rush through the process. Therapist Paul will tell you. But no, I'm at acceptance. I'm like, okay, I think I can see how they can get Dubon-like production from Nick Allen. But also, I will miss him. And I see that maybe, we're going to want less rotating in and out for, and hopefully less injuries where we wouldn't need a guy like Mauricio Dubón next season. We already have too many infielders. We already have some outfielders that need playing time in Cam Smith and Zach Cole. So, there were some log jams happening. So I understand that. I understand that Astros owner Jim Crane wants to be under the luxury tax. So this is just a move to be financially flexible, but it still hurts. So let me know where you're at. Obviously we're used to seeing big players walking at the end of seasons here. But this one hurts more than most, it feels like, because we weren't expecting it. And because he's just a personality guy. He seems like an inspirational figure. But I don't know. I maybe some of y'all were ready for Mauricio. Maybe you're in the minority and you are a Nick Allen stan. But I think this means that hopefully, Jim Crane and Dana Brown knows that the fan base doesn't like this. Hopefully this means that there are more presents for us coming up this holiday season during the winter. There's something for us to be thankful for soon during the winter meetings. And what would that look like for you? For me, I've been talking starting pitching. We've been talking the whole fan base has been talking starting pitching, left-handed bat, and we need to get a backup catcher. I mean, I want to see a starting pitcher. I think I want to see a big starting pitcher added. But let me know what you think. What would it take for you to be excited about this team and to dry your tears over Mauricio Dubón? What do you want to see happen with the Astros this winter? And I'll write it down in a letter. I'll handwrite it in a letter and send it to General Manager Dana Brown. And with that being said, that's going to do it for this transmission, Space Cadets. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Thanks for listening to the Paulcast. Please like, rate, review, subscribe, share, bop it, kick it, skip it, smash all of those buttons for me, as the kids say. We are a small podcast and only go as far as our listenership takes us. We are supported by listeners like you, so please share with a Houston fan or Australian in your life and give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen to this podcast on. Please reach out on social media, or you can call in at Space Cadet Sports on social media, and the call-in is speakpipe.com/Space Cadet Sports, where you can leave a voicemail. Let me know what your take. Let me know what stage of grief you are in over Mauricio Dubón. Or you can just let me know your takes on the Substack. Once again, that's spacecadetsports.substack.com, where you can subscribe to support. And you get like 99% of the content we do just free for being a subscriber there on the Substack. That's right. I don't like putting too much behind a paywall. You can be a premium subscriber on the Substack, but that's more of just helping support the podcast, helping support me and Carla, with little things here, get better equipment. Obviously, I don't want to put too much behind a paywall, but if you have an idea for a perk on the Substack, definitely let me know. And thank you so much for that support. We were a rising podcast, or rising Substack, I should say, on Substack just this month. So thank you so much for all that support. Please, if you want to support but you don't want to be a premium subscriber to the Substack for whatever reason, you can get some merch. That's right, we have Don't Sleep on Houston shirts. We have Carla the Dog hats and H-Town Blue. You can find that at paulsalazarjr.net, because I'm nothing but net. And if you made it this far and you want to support, thank you so much. You must like my weird jokes or memes or puns. You can find me on social media making jokes, memes, art, podcasts, and so much more at paulsalazarjr. Once again, that website's paulsalazarjr.net, where you can find my other Substack and all my other nonsense if you're nasty. Thanks so much for listening. Remember to be the best that you can be. Keep your head up, kid. And as always, vamos, Houston.
Houston. Houston Dynamo. Houston everything. Houston born and raised. H-Town rebel space cadet sports.